following is an excerpt from my CPS report from 16 years ago, and I quote, "Evidence of physical abuse was substantial and included bruises on both of Krista's legs, both buttocks, and her left arm, and included puncture marks above her left knee, where her mother stuck her with a safety pin." Take the excerpt above from CPS and imagine that occurring almost every day until I was almost 13 years old. I was never physically, mentally, or emotionally safe from her. Year-round, I would be physically beaten by her for most anything. Something as simple as sharpening a pencil wrong, cleaning the dishes wrong, or talking like I had an attitude would prompt my mother to go into a rage that would last for hours. She would then beat me with a belt, tree branch, or 2x4, so bad that many times I couldn't move and would end up bleeding from where I had been hit. During the beatings, I would instinctively always try to protect myself, and for that she would punish me as well. She would beat the backs of my arms, elbows, legs, and the sides of my abdomen to force me to stop trying to protect myself from the beatings. She would beat me until I stopped trying to protect myself. The beatings were never hard enough to break any bones, but hard enough to leave bruises and break my skin, causing bleeding. The beatings would go on for hours, and only when I became too weak and exhausted to protect myself and stop crying would she stop, or when she became herself too exhausted to continue. And then she would sometimes finish with the threat of, "This will be continued tomorrow." For nearly 11 years, I lived in constant fear every minute that I would suffer from a beating the next minute. On top of the abuse I suffered at her hand, starting at age 3, I was also molested on several occasions by men who had befriended us. On top of the beating, she verbally threatened and attempted to kill me multiple times. One time she went into the kitchen, grabbed a butcher knife, pushed me up against the wall, and held the sharp blade into my throat and threatened to kill me because she thought I was the devil. That time, I was 11 years old. When I was younger, we had to heat the water on our stove as we were too poor to afford a water heater. By the time there was enough water to fill the tub, it would be cold and I would cry. She would hold my head underwater to stop me from crying. My entire childhood at her whim, she would push my body and dash my head over and over into the walls of our house. My mother was a single parent, and I was kept very secluded from the world. I had no friends to socialize with, and my mother had very few people that she would allow to come and visit us. I never went to public school. I was homeschooled instead to prevent people from discovering her actions. One time, I just waved hello to our neighbor, and she locked me in a 3-foot by 2-foot closet with no light for 3 days. I had to beg and cry to be allowed to use the restroom. At 12 years old, I had had enough. Being raised religious, I was taught that killing yourself was a sin. However, I felt that death would be better than living the life I was living, always in fear of being beaten or dying. I asked God for forgiveness and then took a whole bottle of aspirin, praying to just go to sleep and die. Needless to say, all that happened was I got very sick. My mother didn't know what was going on, and she never took me to the hospital. It was a miracle I survived, but I was extremely sick for several days before I got better, and I lost all hope of ever escaping from my mother's hand until 1997. In February of 1997, I went to our neighbors and showed them the bruises, scars, and welts, and asked them if this was normal. The beatings and death threats as I had gotten older had worsened, and I truly believed I would be dead within a year. I told them that I was afraid I was not going to live, and I asked them, "Is this normal, what she is doing to me?" They said, "No, sweetie, it's not. We are going to get you out of there." I told them I wanted to make sure that if they got me away from my mother, that I never went back to her, because if I was given back to her, I knew for sure I would die. On February 19, 1997, I was staring out my window in the afternoon, my heart beating fast. You see, earlier, a police officer had visited our neighbors while my mother was away and told me that he was going to be back for me soon. Suddenly, I saw out our window a cop car drive past our house, and my heart started beating faster. Then 4 cop cars pulled up in front of our house, as well as several unmarked cars. My mother had no idea what was going on and told me to stay in the house. For me, I knew it was time. For the first time in my life, I gathered up every single ounce of courage I could find. I looked at her and said, "Mom, I'm sorry. It's over." police officer walked up to our door, I walked out past him and out to the street. I refused to look back until I was in the safety of a caseworker's car. As I looked back to see the home and life I had just finally walked away from, I saw my mother handing the police officer one of the 2x4s she had used to beat me. I looked at the social worker and said she was actually admitting it. I was shocked and also relieved, because that meant I was for sure never going back to her, because she was admitting then and there to the abuse. From that moment on, I was a ward of the state. I was about to enter a whole new world, a world that I had been barricaded from for almost 13 years. My years in CPS is another story, but in short, I spent the next 5 years in 4 group homes and 9 foster homes. I tried suicide several times, ran away, and was even abused by one of my foster parents. I battled bulimia, depression, and post-traumatic stress syndrome. I fought to survive in a world that I knew nothing about. My mother ended up being charged with 2 Class 2 felonies of child abuse and spent a couple of years in prison. The story made headlines as people were shocked that the abuse had gone on so long and no one knew. And they were shocked that I had physically survived and not died. At age 18, I thought I had left the world of domestic violence when I left my mother, but I was wrong. I got engaged, and I saw the signs that my fiancé had a severe anger problem. But being young, pregnant, and thinking I was in love, and thinking things would change, once we got married, I still married him. Things only got worse. 1 month into our marriage, the physical abuse kept escalating. He one day pushed me into a wall, choked me, hit me, and whipped my pregnant stomach, leaving multiple bleeding welts before he left for work. I had had enough, and I feared for the safety of my unborn child. I turned to the police and managed to get away from that situation alive. I left that marriage and made a promise to make sure I never allowed myself to think that I deserved to be beat or that that was a way of living. I, as a person, am worth more than being beat. To this day, I have flashbacks from the beatings, but they are less frequent, and I still suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome, depression, and anxiety. There are some days it is a physical and mental struggle for me to get up and face each day. But I do it because I want to inspire others to overcome their struggles. With all of my clouded history, I graduated from college, which most foster kids don't. I am a wife with an amazing husband who does not beat me and treasures me for me. Women, there are decent men out there. I am a mother, a career woman, and I volunteer with several organizations. I have also had the joy of coaching my son's baseball and basketball teams. This year, I also won the national title of Mrs. Triumph Over Tragedy. Not hurting my friend. So there is the story behind my smile. I'm sharing my story tonight not for sympathy. I share and speak openly about what has happened to me because I want everyone to be inspired that no matter what your situation or what you have gone through in your life, you can triumph over it. As I end, I want you to know that whether you are a victim of domestic violence or struggling with some other personal struggles in your life, you can triumph over anything. Don't be afraid to take that first step to make a positive change. There is something better out there, much better than being beat, abused, or living in fear of dying, or whatever may be going on in your life. You can change your life. You can get up here and smile too. I did, and so can you.
Through these situations, but you are surviving and you have courage.